everybody. How about this? 50. This is 50 corrections. If you had told me when we started that we would do 50 corrections, I would have said, yeah, I guess so. I mean, why not? I mean, I'm the only one who does anything. Like, I like it. I don't know. Hey, I said that Jackal was an acronym for Jerks Attempting Comedy Killing Absent Love. And I was told that's a backronym, which is when you create an acronym based on an existing word. Basically, someone said that I deliberately worked backwards from Jackal. That's not how it happened. You remember Shoemaker. I went in, the first time I read any of your comments, marched right over to Shoemaker's office, and I said, I got a bunch of jerks attempting comedy killing absent love. And then you were the one who was like, oh. And remember? And then I went, oh. And then you were like, oh. And then I said, ah. And that's how we came up with it. My favorite thing this week is someone, by accident, on accident, let me know. Someone accidentally called Shoemaker Buttermaker. Which is funny because Buttermaker is his alter ego. Because Shoemaker used to, not anymore after the leg, but Shoemaker used to drink and black out, and then the next day you'd go in his office and be off the walls, and you'd say, what happened? He goes, I think Buttermaker was here. Oops, he does this really. Oops. Speaking of Buttermaker, if you think 1976's Bad News Bears is a movie you can show kids today, I got some bad news, Bears. I don't even think you can show them the trailer. I referred to somebody bringing a turntable to a party as being a DJ. I was told by a bunch of people that if someone shows up with one turntable, they are not a DJ, so don't let that person into your house. If they show up with two turntables and a mixer, then they are a DJ, and don't let that person into your house. The Titanic was a ship. I referred to it as a boat. On the upside, not the worst thing that happened to the Titanic. The New York Times the mini crossword puzzle, a lot of you brought this to my attention, had this as an answer. Plastic toy bricks, and the answer is Legos. Well, I don't need to tell you. I mean, we set off on this journey of 50 episodes when we were told there's no plural for Lego. You say Lego bricks. Legos is incorrect. But, you know, I would just say to the jackals out there, you know, it's just a mini. Don't beat up on the mini. The New York Times Mini is interesting. It's for people who love puzzles but hate impressing people. Did you get the mini today? I mentioned Tintin, told I was pronouncing it wrong. Tintin is the Americanized pronunciation. In French, you say Tintin. It does seem a little weird to my ear to say Tintin after all these years. But again, as fortune has it, there is a person in my life who is perfect to ask about English versus French. So I reached out to my mom and asked how she would say that little boy, that traveler, that journalist extraordinaire. Mom, how would you say it? Con. Hey, this was a Jackals joke. And I gave credit about Nosferatu's, the delicious candy. And, you know, because I gave credit correctly, the Jackals were celebrating in the comment section this week that one of their own, had busted out. And these were the three comments after someone said, they used my joke. First person said, the Nosferatu's swelled feelings of pride for the contributing jackal, well done. Second person, Nosferatu's was major league funny. You may make the bigs, kid. Very sweet. Third one, his name isn't Nosferatu, though. It's Count Orlok. Nosferatu is the name of the movie. And so for the jackal who wrote that joke, welcome to the roller coaster that is my life. Write a good joke, praise, jackal ruins day. It is right, though. The character in Nosferatu, the original one, the F.W. Murnau, was Count Orlok, which I remembered because in the 80s, General Mills did a German Expressionism serial crossover and released this, Count Choriolacula. I believe the term for it is short-lived. Hey, I want to apologize to a couple of hot sauce companies, Tabasco and Cholula. We went day drinking. I went day drinking with Post Malone, and they're two great hot sauces. And while I was shaking out the Cholula, I called it Tabasco. In my defense, and there's no way anyone watching that could have known this, I had been drinking. We did a sketch called Best Case, Worst Case, which was had a lot of bee content based on the insect, more commonly known as the bee. And, well, there were some problems. First, there was the line, first graphics had an issue, which we said, bees blotted out the sun. And, when anything blots out the sun, the idea is that they cover the sky. There's so many of them in the sky, you can't see the sun. Whereas graphics thought bees just swarmed to the sun and, landed on it. That's however you want to think because, of course, that wouldn't, as a lot of you pointed out, the bees would, they'd incinerate. Jermaine writer Jermaine wrote this sketch, and he's usually got a good attention to detail. Now, again, in his defense, I think the first draft of this was only written 18 months ago. So there wasn't a ton of time, dot the I's and cross the T's. So there were a few of you who knew a little bit more about bees than you. There were just a few. Male bees don't have stingers, that's one. When the queen dies, the drones don't also die, they rear a new queen. Bees don't die when they lose their stingers, that's wasp, that's 3. Bees don't say buzz, that's the sound their wings make when they fly, that's 4. Queen bees can't fly, 5. You showed a picture of a wasp, not a bee. Bees would be able to blot out the sun. Oh, not just because they wouldn't blot out the sun, they can't survive in space. That's 7, yeah. And then the final correction was one that really wasn't even bee-related about this wonderful sketch that Jermaine wrote. Correction, this was not supposed to air. I mentioned that we don't get a lot of fan art, and I think a lot of you took it the wrong way. I don't remember saying this because, again, I was fishing for it, but I guess a lot of you heard we don't get a lot of Wall-E fan art. I don't know what it is about Wall-E, but people are drawn to him. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's wobbling. We talked about Wally Two Trees Ferriston and this meme that somebody made. And there were two things that were pointed out to me that I got to say are fair. One, Wally's holding a cue card that says Seth sucks. Someone said, but you read what he says, so technically it should say I suck. I think that's right, but would have been confusing. Also, someone said, at no point would I have said that Tony Soprano's nickname was Da Boss. And then someone said they came up with a better nickname for Wally than Wally Two Trees Ferriston. And I love Wally Two Trees Ferriston. And I thought, I bet you don't. And then they told me, and I will say I laughed when I read it, Wally Paul Nuts. They also said Mike Tank Top Scollins, it should be, if you have no trees, it should be Mike No Sleeves Scollins. We had a pretty great crew. Mikey No Sleeves, Buttermaker, Wally Paul Nuts, and Jermaine refuses to Google BFACS. We called him that because he refused to Google BFACS. Speaking of No Sleeves Scollins, he had a joke about a Guinness World Record being set for the largest chicken nugget ever made. That was the setup, to put it in joke parlance. And then the punchline was, and now for the bad news, and we showed a picture of Big Bird. And many of you took offense, and many more of you said, Big Bird is a canary, not a chicken. So the joke doesn't work. Because if there's one thing we know, chicken nuggets only have chicken. This is just a genuine question I have to our European or international viewers. Talked about the sexy firefighter calendar and how it started on Monday and calendars start on Sunday. But it seems like everywhere but America, they start on Monday. So people said, you were fine, you didn't need to correct that. The question I have is, does the rest of the world have sexy firefighter calendars? We'll post a poll. Don't answer if you're not from out of the country. It doesn't work if we stop taking it seriously. Oh, I talked about Paul Revere charging for his midnight ride, you know, because he had all these expenses, like he was using his own horse. And a bunch of you said, not only did he not use his own horse, he borrowed a horse and he never brought it back. So I guess Paul Revere is canceled now. When does it stop? Pizza Hut, our friends at Pizza Hut, they sent us free pizza today for our staff and our crew. Such a nice gesture. Also this week, Little Caesars replaced Pizza Hut as the official pizza of the NFL. And I just pray those two aren't related. That someone at Pizza Hut said, I'd love to send pizza to the team over at late night, and then, you know, their boss said, okay, but you gotta find the money somewhere else. Because that's what I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping that Pizza Hut opted out of being the official pizza of the NFL. I don't know the story about it, but I hate to think they were still trying to. Look, I just don't want to live in a world where they got out pizzaed. But maybe that's what, maybe they opted out because they want, you know, they're with the official pizza of the NFL, maybe they want to be the official pizza of corrections. We're in talks. And I don't think we have the reach. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say we've got the reach or the scope of the NFL. But let me say something. 50 episodes, not one concussion. And we go hard. Remember that movie, Concussion? Where there was a doctor who taught everybody the trauma one could receive with a blow to the head? How traumatic a blow to the head. You remember who played the doctor? Will Smith, foreshadowing. Oh, by the way, I knew about the Little Caesars news because of there was a PR press release. My PR was public relations. They had this press release from Little Caesars explaining how they're, and I think we can all agree just by looking at it, too long. I was told that people from Queens never say Queens. They would say Astoria or Long Island. But I just want to say to all of them, behind your back, we say Queens. Someone said your OJ impression was terrible. Well, I'll make sure to lean into it next time. Hey, I think we're a month out from getting the merch. Here's the thing, when the merch is ready, you guys gotta buy the merch, okay? I've been making a big deal about the merch, and I'm calling up the merch people and making a stink every day. And if you guys don't buy the merch, I'm not gonna be able to look them in the eye when I see them at the commissary. Buy the merch. If I go down to the NBC Experience store and the merch is in the discount bin with the, where in the world is Matt Lauer beer cozies? I want to read a comment. Someone left a comment, a critical comment, but it made me think. And again, this whole thing, all jokes aside, it is about improvement. I want to be better, and I appreciate the time all of you jackals take to engage with the show. I hope you know that. Every now and then, maybe I come off as a little surly, but you take time, I take the time to read them. I think we both come out of it better. So this is a critical comment, and I want to read it because it made me think. And I'm going to read it, I'm going to use a voice when I read it. And I don't want you to think the voice is me editorializing about the comment. The voice I use is completely unconnected to how I feel about what you took the time to write. Okay? The less political relevance this show has, the less funny and interesting it becomes. Corrections is always a word salad of unfunny puns and quirky nonsense. It amounts to obnoxious internet banter and nothing more. Can't you correct the Republican Party? Or something worthwhile? This is so meaningless, it makes me not laugh again and again. So just thank you. Taking the time, write something so important. This is 50, but next week is the spectacular. Jacktacular? We'll have, let's have Peacock do some market research. Jacktacular or spectacular. And it's gonna be big. It's gonna be really, really big. It's, we are, you're spending a lot of money on it. And I think when you tune in, you're gonna be blown away right off the jump. There is, obviously we no longer use live animals on the show, so that whole element of it has to be CGI. Rehearsals. Oh. The rehearsals are intense. So do please come back in a week for that. But thank you for being here for the 50th. I think this was by far, top 25. You will see me Next week,